Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another bid meeting. It seems like we have a few things to talk about this morning. It's exciting news yesterday and all. Um, if we can call the meeting to order, do the statement and roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Due to the pandemic, all members of the Downtown Winston-Salem Business Improvement District Advisory Committee are participating virtually. For virtual meetings, committee members will be muted until asked to be heard. At that time, they will be recognized and will be unmuted. When there is a vote, it will be necessary to take a roll call vote. A committee member will be recognized and will raise their hand and verbally state their vote. Today's meeting is a public meeting. The meeting can be accessed at the City of Winston-Salem's YouTube page. And so for roll call, Tony Brett.
Present.
Kelly Brown.
Good morning.
Mike Cashin.
Good morning.
Chad Cheek. Rodney Davis. Lauren Desai.
Hello.
Vivian Joyner.
Present.
Shannon Meyer.
Present.
And Charles Wilson.
All right. I think everyone received the copy of the minutes. Can I get a motion if there's no discussion? If I can get a motion to approve the last two sets of minutes.
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you. And Meredith, I think you're up.
I am. A roll call for, I'll do a quick roll call to approve the minutes just officially. Tony Brett.
Approve.
Kelly Brown.
Approve.
Mike Cashin.
Approve.
Chad Cheek.
I approve.
Lauren Desai.
Approve.
Vivian Joyner.
Approved.
And Shannon Meyer.
Approved.
Thank you all. Just to touch briefly, as we're hopefully getting used to COVID and everyone's coming kind of back around in person, Jason and I wanted to bring up the conversation of if we would like to begin meeting in person or continue meeting virtually. The city is very aware that citizens are participating more in these meetings because they are virtual, just the ease of access to join the meetings. And so there is actually an item going to council committees for information this month and action potentially next month to allow us to continue meeting virtually beyond the state of emergency. But there are some steps where we would have to have at least one meeting in person to do that. But I was wanting to kind of get a sense of what you all were thinking as far as we move forward, continuing to meet virtually or try in person.
I personally think it's very convenient for the virtual meeting myself.
Yeah. That's a lot of the feedback we're receiving actually, so.
It is time efficient.
I think that there might be a time where we need just to be, for whatever the circumstance, to have an in-person meeting. But for the most part, I think continuing in this format is probably most efficient and time balanced for most of us.
Those were my thoughts as well. But I thought it would bring it up to the group and let you all kind of think on that and make that decision. So as that ordinance goes through city council, once it hopefully passes, we'll definitely have to have at least one in-person meeting at some point to approve moving to more of a virtual format. But I just wanted to make you all aware and kind of get some feedback as to what your thoughts were. So, perfect. Thank you. I think I'm next on the agenda again, so I'll just keep going, Chair, if that's all right.
That's quite all right.
With city updates. So as you all have probably seen, the First and Second Street pole conversion project is still ongoing. Duke Energy, from what I can tell, is doing a bit better of a job of replacing sidewalks as the pole replacement takes place. We're keeping an eye on that and continuing to kind of keep that inventory and still have our plan of action once those processes are complete, so that we can go in and really look at the sidewalks and try to make some improvements there as we move forward. I'm certain Jason has some more updates, but Commercial Park, as you've probably heard, seen on social media and whatnot, is moving forward. So that's great to see and see those improvements. And then I guess as Chair mentioned, the big news yesterday was the festival is back. They made their announcement yesterday, and so that will be taking place come August. So those are kind of some city updates that are ongoing. Jason, if you have anything to add, please feel free to do so.
I was going to use our presentation I sent you just during the item on the agenda there to do the.
I will throw that up right now.
Thank you. And you can go to the next slide. One of the things that we've done, so what I want to do is share with you some of the projects that we've been working on and some of the things that we've been involved with, and share with we'll be working on and developing a work plan for next year. But I also want to get input from you all if there's anything that you'd like me to explore. One of the things that we did this year is that I enjoy activating vacant ground floor space with what I would say is passive imagery. And this is something that many downtowns do. I don't think it's necessarily innovative, but it is important. And so what this building at 505 North Liberty Street was supposed to be the home of the cycling center. And for a lot of reasons, and not due to necessarily neglect by the building owner, I reached out to them, and I don't think the bicycling plans didn't come forward as they had planned, and so it looked a little dated. I think it said coming soon 2017, and we both agreed that they'd allow us to use this storefront to enhance it with some window clean graphics. If we go to the next one. So while this picture is a little bit further away than I never seem to be able to get a picture without a car in front of it, which says it's in demand for parking. But what we did is we replaced all of that graphic with an image of downtown, a skyline image. And then we had a little play with our Find It Here tagline that we used for downtown. And essentially that there's many Find It Here. So there's many places to find it here. And that was just a way to activate the space. Move on to the next slide. We've also, the picture here, what I wanted to show you is what's in the right center of the page, which are the vinyl parking banners throughout downtown. Many of those have been sun faded and they've been replaced with new ones. And so that's a maintenance thing for us. And that's something that we've been able to accomplish just recently. And I just wanted to share that with you. You'll see that coming into town on Cherry Street from Business 40. You'll see that at the parking deck that is over by the Innovation Quarter behind the Cardinal Hotel. And this is across the street from the on 6th Street. So move on to the next slide. We've also been replacing single missing bricks on certain streets downtown, particularly Trade and Liberty, that are pavered. And so we went and bought some single bricks that match as best as we can from Pine Hall here locally, and just place them inside the missing hole. And that's something that we're trying to continue to do. And this was something that we finally had the druthers to do it. We have been waiting for maybe some other group to do it, but really we could do it. And it's something that we had to learn a new skill, but there you go. The next slide, just some more. Keep going. And some more. Next slide. One of the other projects that we've been working on is we have a number of trash cans downtown. While still structurally sound, they have some broken vertical columns, and they have they're not necessarily terribly attractive. We can replace the lids on top of them, which get removed to empty the trash bin inside, and the chain can be replaced, but the can itself, or the actual structure of the can, the metal, does get broken from time to time. And so we decided to look at wrapping them with some markings, and we're playing with this. If we've done 4 of them, and we might do some more with something that's more creatively worded, something that's fun, like something to the effect of put your worries here, something that would be kind of playful, yet, pretty innocent. And so you can see the vinyl banner and what that looks like afterwards. So instead of continually branding our brand, maybe we might do something that's a little more colorful. Go to the next page. You'll see some of the other applications here. Go back to that page. One of the things that we'll be doing in the work plan next year is replacing the rounded pedestrian maps with new ones and updated information on them. So I just wanted to share with them. That's one thing that we need to do. Go to the next slide. Snow removal. This is our clean team. We did have a pretty significant snowfall, not like 10 inches, but about 3 or 4 inches. Go to the next one. We do hire an outside contractor, and this is some of the equipment they used. Each snowfall, like on that kind of snowfall, that ranges us in cost. Like this one, I think costs us about $8,000 to do the work that we've done. So it's a pretty significant cost, but it's one that people appreciate very much. And we'll go on to the next slide. As Meredith mentioned, Duke Energy and subcontractors have finally come and replaced some of the brick pavers around the newly installed mast arms. This is on both sides of Trade Street at 5th, and we've been waiting a long time for that to happen, and so I'm very pleased with that. Move to the next slide. These are some of the ongoing things that we do with graffiti. You can see the door on the left, the before, and then the after, which is simply a paint over. This is on 6th Street between Trade and Liberty. And then the other one is north on 7th Street to the east further. This is just a simple tag that was easy to power wash and chemically remove, but that's pretty indicative of the dozens of graffiti items that are removed since the last time we talked. Keep going. I did want to share with you that we've confirming that we'll have the Summer Music Series again this year for our 24th season. Summer on Liberty will start, I believe, June 24th and go through August. Downtown Jazz will do the same. We've been very active. I'll come back to social districts because maybe we'll end up there. Social media, we've been very active and getting very good activity on all of our social media, advertising. And one of the things that is coming up is our downtown plan update. Every 10 years, the downtown plan gets updated, and we're working with our planning committee and the city county planning board with their staff in tandem The initial planning phase is going to have an online survey, which will be going out in the next 2 weeks or so. And from that survey, I think some of it may be applicable, and I'll share with you the results from that survey. But for instance, one of the questions is, do people feel safe downtown? Is downtown clean? Things like that. The other component is we'll be having public meetings for input. And I would encourage all of you, if you're interested, to be involved with the survey, the public meetings, or the downtown plan committees, or any involvement opportunities. And so that will be taking place over the next year. Finally, social districts is something that's been talked about extensively throughout the state since the state legislature enabled cities to enact open container districts called social districts. How it works, and they've implemented this in Greensboro, which is the only large city in the state that's done it so far. There's a lot of smaller cities that have done it. But if you're in a bar or a restaurant that serves alcohol, the bar or restaurant, the alcohol provider can give you a distinct cup that has to be approved with the markings of your business on it, and you can walk out the door into the public walking area of the city, as long as that walking area is within the allowed boundaries of the social district. Would have to be delineated by some method approved by the city council. You cannot walk into another establishment that sells alcohol with the container, but you could walk into a business that does not sell alcohol, such as a retail shop or a gallery. In talking about this with many people and looking at the situation on the ground, I've had many conversations with people. My first thing to say to people is, as a point of just information, even Greensboro, while they only applied it to be eligible until 9 p.m. every evening. And that's an important thing, because I think people, when they think about this, they generally think about it being something that is like New Orleans, where you have people selling bottles of liquor or things like bottles of beer and from street vendors and being able to walk around. And that's not what this is. And it's not something that goes beyond 9 o'clock. I think most people recognize that the amount of liability and potential upside diminishes the later in the night that it is allowed. Some people may disagree with that, and it'll be up to our city council to determine it. I believe that they'll be talking about this in early April in committee for information. It does have pertinence to us, as I do believe it would increase the amount of trash that we would be picking up. I plan on sharing that with the city council and city management, and I've done that. And I've also shared with them that my preference would be for them to look at this as something that they would use for special events or in smaller areas. It could be used in a larger area and create a larger district, but it'll be up to them. But my personal opinion is that, but I'm not trying to superimpose my opinion on anybody else, but there are several factors that lead me to this conclusion, and I've shared that publicly with many news outlets, is that for me, most of the businesses that I've talked to, I would say that it's a real mixed bag, if you will, on whether or not that it would be something that they would welcome. I think most of the areas is something that that I've talked to, it's hard to find a total consensus. There's some that are very eager to do it. I don't think there's any appetite for the city to create a district after 9 p.m. or maybe 10 p.m. One of the mitigating factors is the concern ongoing about the vacancy rate on the city's police department, which I think stands now like around above 15%, around 16 or 17%. I could be wrong. we've had vacancies on our downtown bike patrol, and they've been doing, certainly they've been visible and working, but we'd like to see more, and we've shared that very publicly for a long period of time. So with those concerns, it's kind of contrary to say, let's allow open containers, but there is a way that this tool can be very helpful and could be very reasonable. There are many times when, for instance, if you have a program or an event where the premises of a local bar or a provider is limited to what their ABC laws are, their permanent ABC premises, and the only people that sell alcohol are the alcohol providers brought in by the event providers. So this would be a way for the businesses along an event to participate. I don't know if that's going to take away the initiative for the event producer to actually produce the event in the first place, which may be a unwanted byproduct. But there's a lot to consider, and I think the city is going to formally start considering it in early April. At least that's what news reports, and that's what I've been told. So I share all that with you. If you want to talk about it offline with me, but obviously this is something that you guys can talk about as you feel you desire. But I wanted to share with you what some of the conversations are and what's happening. And so that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Jason. So Jason, from what you said, the biggest impact for the social district of alcoholic use would be increase in trash pickup, possibly a little bit more graffiti.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that it's a public safety concern to some degree, that what you can see
as it impacts the bid, though.
No, that's right. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Questions, comments, and or discussion?
Jason, I did have one question about the parking deck signage. Is there a plan to put the parking sign at the Link Apartments, which is adjacent to Innovation Quarter? Because that I believe that is still technically public parking, or is that a private?
It's privately owned, but we have signed to private parking. What happened is that when we did like our parking program and directing them to really 3 or 4 parking decks downtown in our wayfinding package, the Innovation Quarter just has their own unique signage look, and they do have signage for the parking there in the Innovation Quarter. I think they just want to make it look like theirs rather than what the rest of downtown.
Yeah, I'm responsible for making that signage, so that's why I'm asking, because they've asked us to design something, but I didn't want to design something if the city had a plan to put a parking sign up.
Chad, I would love to talk to you about this. I will share with you that anything that we do, just let me know.
Okay, we could talk about it offline. I just wanted to make sure I'm up to speed on what's happening.
You got it.
Thanks.
Jason, a question about graffiti, tagging, and cleaning it up. I mean, this has been going on for years. Is the problem getting better, getting worse, about the same? Are there trends that are seasonal?
That's a great question, Mr. Brett. I think that it's cyclical. And like, for instance, we'll see one person have a really big impact. And then if we remove their markings and they realize that this isn't a place for them to get permanent gratification with their markings, then they'll move on typically. And so I think you just have to be there to whenever you have a finite area like the bid district, you just have to keep looking for it, and you start to see the same markings again and again and again and again. The most common thing is people using a permanent marker and putting in their initials or some other marking on the back of traffic signage, on trash cans, on buildings, just everywhere. And which, what we've found is that a good half of it probably is people just influenced by alcohol, I think, or just, late at night doing it. We've seen people do that and draw things and caught them on camera and found out who they were and why they did it. And then you got some people that I just think are, temporarily, want to, do graffiti, but it's worldwide, and some of it, can be very creative. I'm not anti-graffiti, but I think when it's not very creative or artistic, and it's just a marking, we try to remove it as quickly as possible.
Well, then a follow-up, in those instances where you can identify who's doing it, is there any sort of law enforcement follow-up?
In the past, yeah, we did. Actually, the private property owners typically will have the opportunity. And in the past, when we did catch them, it was about 6 years ago. And yeah, they did. They actually had to do restitution, helping one of the nonprofits prepare a mural wall for their artist. And so, yeah, it actually was pursued, and they had to, worked out as it probably should have, with them doing some work to make amends.
Good.
Each situation's different, but for somebody making a small tag, I mean, that was a situation where the two individuals made really large vandal graffiti items that were explicit, and they did it in multiple places on private property and public property. And it was our cameras in the passageway that caught them, and but it was obvious that they were also the ones that did it in other places in downtown. But generally speaking, for someone that's going to be doing a small tag or something like that, we're not really, we just want to remove it. We're not generally pursuing somebody unless, it really goes too far with broken and smashed glass. But to be honest with you, I mean, I think that's probably more fair representation. We're not actively out there. It's not as big a problem as necessarily spending our time trying to find out who's doing it. It's not that big a problem. I should say that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else?
Ms. Chair, it's Shannon Meyer. I just wanted to let Chad Cheek know that I managed the deck he was talking about at Link Innovation Quarter. So Chad, if you want to reach out to me, I would love to have some conversation with you about signage.
Okay, that would be great. I can share with you the concern that the leadership over at Innovation Quarter has, and then we can talk about some solutions. So
okay,
I'll reach out. Thank you.
Good stuff. Well, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right. Meredith, we're planning a meeting next month, aren't we?
We will be meeting next month. We'll be reviewing our work plan and hopefully approving that as and the budget for next year as the city approaches their budget process as well. So
absolutely. All right. Well, it's been moved and second. This meeting is adjourned. We'll see you next month. Thank you, folks.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.